Hi, my name is Josh Ledgard. I'm one of the co-founders at KickoffLabs, and this is our podcast. The On Growth podcast is a place where we're going to share advice on growing sustainable businesses through the stories of our customers, our team, anyone we can find with something to teach us. We've got a bunch of plans for this podcast, but with each episode, we'd love to hear from you, who you are, what you thought, and what topics would interest you the most. In this episode, the very first one, I'm going to share my interview with Nicolas Aagaard. I love this story because it came out of nowhere for me. I was just browsing some of the top customers at Kickoff Labs last month and saw this fascinating campaign about a product that made me do a double take. I looked them up after their Kickoff Labs campaign had ended and was blown away that they'd raised over $500,000 on Kickstarter so far. You'll hear what they learned through several failures leading up to this and how they applied those lessons to their current product, Last Swab. All right, hello. We are live talking with Nicolas Aagaard. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, well, it's Aagaard, but it was pretty close.
It's pretty close. Okay, where are you located?
We're located in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Amazing. So first of all, I'd like to say congratulations. So far, I took a look at what you guys have been up to, and you've raised over $500,000 US dollars on Kickstarter after having collected over 40,000 email addresses during a pre-launch campaign for your newest product, which is Last Schwab, which I love because of the green message and the concept of the product and the cool look of the design. And we're going to get into that. But before we do, I'd love for people to get some context on you. So if you could give people a little bit of information on what is your background.
Sure. So, thank you, by the way. We're really excited about the success. So we're three founders. It's me, my sister, and my business partner, Core. Me and Core have been working together for 7 years. We met at the Danish School of Design. And before that, I went to business school. And I think a lot of what we try to do, and have tried, to do for the last 7 years, is actually sort of a mix of those two worlds, the business world and the design world. And it's actually, it's kind of, they're not two worlds that generally agree on a lot of things. And for that reason, there's sort of a lot of innovation to be made in that area if you're really focused on both parts at the same time. I think that really sort of culminates in Last Swab. We've done a bunch of projects before. We've done product design before and, some real estate redevelopment, things like that. But Last Swab for me is really sort of where we hit the nail on the head, where we got the design part right and we got the business part right. And we really started we really took a step back. A year and a half ago, we wanted to create a product that was in and of itself, a positive thing for the environment. And what we saw a lot of people doing were like all of these, because CSR became this like really big thing, and we're a green company and we're buying solar cells to power our computers and all that. And all these companies were just jumping on this bandwagon. We're giving 10% of our revenue to a good cause. And I thought, well, that's kind of like, we really need to create companies that are in and of themselves producing things that have a positive impact and actually make, not paying 10%, to alleviate your conscience, but actually doing something that's good. And we looked at a bunch of different sort of versions of this, and we zeroed in on the single-use items area because that we felt you could really make a big difference. And there was a really big design challenge in it because, there's a reason why things are single use. It's so much more convenient for people. And there was, a great economical incentive to, think of a product that replaces a single use item. Because, if you use 1,000 of something and you create something that, costs less than 1,000 of something, then you've actually created an economical case for the user as well. And we looked at plastic bags and, coffee cups and floss, bunch of other items. And we end up with Last Swap because design-wise, that's how, we solved it design-wise, I think. It reminds people, it basically looks like a cotton swab, and for that reason, people kind of relate to it, understand what it is. You don't have to explain it. And the second thing is I think people are ready for this. Like the amount of excitement that we've gotten from the launch has just been overwhelming. And I think that's in large part because of where people are right now, and they're focused on this sort of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, just to reiterate, so what I'm looking at with Last Schwab is you have basically, you're reinventing the traditional cotton swab, where you've got, instead of this single-use thing that I use and then I throw away, you're attempting to make one and sell it that is reusable, or you are selling it that is reusable on Kickstarter. And I have to say, I mean, this is an audio recording, but I mean, these are definitely the most beautiful-looking, cotton swab replacements that well, the only ones I've really seen, but they really look attractive. Like you thought about the case and the colors and the design that really makes it, I think probably helps you in terms of marketing, right? To market this thing, that it's not doesn't just look like a white cotton swab. You've got this thing that looks subtly different but familiar. Is that true?
Right. Yeah, definitely. So, and it's actually really interesting because I think part of it is that we didn't try to make an ear cleaning device. Like that wasn't what we were interested in, because there are hundreds of designs for ear cleaning devices that are alternatives to the cotton swab. But still, like the sale of cotton swabs hasn't gone down for the last 50 years. It's just gone up. We're producing 1.5 billion cotton swabs every day. That's 550 billion cotton swabs a year. It's an insane number, and it hasn't gone down. So obviously, all these all these products on the market are not helping this problem. It has a huge environmental impact. So I think one of the things that we really wanted to do was not to create something that solves part of the problem, but was actually a replacement for what it was. And the second part was obviously to get the design right. And that's, the colors and the small nubs on the head and sort of the nice shape of it and the case and all that. So it really had to be this. What I actually wanted from this, because it's a cotton swab. Most people clean their ears with it. It's kind of a disgusting thing, but we wanted people to be proud of having it. Like it should be something that you take your mobile phone out, while you're having dinner, and you put it on the table, and you don't mind putting your cotton swab next to the mobile phone. Like I think that's where we have to bring people. We have to bring them to an area where they kind of love their thing. Like that happened a lot with iPhones. Like people love their iPhone. Like we measure it. It's been measured. Like people love their iPhone, and that happened when the iPhone came out. This wasn't the case with a lot of the phones that came out in the beginning. Like the design part, the love wasn't there. And I think when we do these products where people have just, because it is a little bit more inconvenient. Like you use a single-use item and you throw it out. You don't have to clean it. Like there's a cleaning part. So if we have to get people to do that, not only do we have to make it so easy for them to complete that task, but they have to love their product more than they love the alternative.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're making something, you're trying to make it to make up for it and get them to do that little bit of extra effort to make it worthwhile, because they feel like it. Just like I would clean my iPhone screen or clean the case or get a new case for my iPhone. You're trying to make it say like, hey, just clean this and reuse it. So I'm curious, and then maybe it gets a little bit disgusting, but what is when you guys have obviously done a bunch of research in this space, like, is the number one use of the cotton swabs ear cleaning? Because I noticed you have two versions. You have a standard and a makeup version. So when you did your research,
right,
what were the two biggest use cases that you had for people with the single-use cotton swabs?
So there's not a lot of numbers on this, and one of the reasons why there's not a lot of numbers on it is because doctors don't. They say you shouldn't use a cotton swab in your ears. And for the same reason, we have to tell that same story. You're not supposed to use this in your ear. You use it for a lot of other things. But the fact of the matter is that almost everyone, and I don't have a number on this, but I can kind of confirm it after the fact. Everyone who writes we're doing a lot of boosted posts, and when we did the email collection, we did boosted posts as well. And we've had thousands of comments, and the vast majority of these people, they talk about ear cleaning. Like that is what people use it for. Well, I think that's the one main usage. And you mentioned the beauty. We have the basic and the beauty version. The beauty version actually came a bit later. To begin with, it was only me and Core. My sister sort of came in a little bit later and actually, brought the beauty version into our whole setup, because it turned out that makeup artists and people who do, makeup on themselves in general use a lot of these. Mm-hmm. And we just weren't aware. We were two guys, so we needed a woman to tell us that. And so that came later. But in our research, we really focused more on the replacement, not so much what people used it for, but just the fact that they use it. Mm-hmm. It just turns out that this is what they use it for a lot. And then there's the makeup. So I think the ear cleaning is a really large part of it. Cleaning the water out of your ears after a shower. A lot of people do this. Apparently, I don't. A lot of people do this. And then there's the makeup correction. Now, there are some limitations when it comes to the makeup part. Like, it doesn't absorb, so it's more for sort of moving and correcting. But I just, I see my fiance using these, and then she just removes a little bit of makeup from a place under her eyes, and then she throws out the cotton swab. That's what it's used for, and it's an alternative for that.
Yeah, and it looks like you've got it's a little bit more specialized. So to kind of describe to people, the makeup one looks like it has one end, which is more of a finer point, and the other end, which is more of a blunt point. So you are specializing the makeup one use case, it seems like, specifically for those fine kind of alterations and touch-ups.
Yes. And this is actually based on a current cotton swab design that works kind of like that. That has the sort of the pointy tip, which is cotton, and then the other one, which is more flat. Mm-hmm. Ours is based on that as well.
So what's the feedback been on the product? I assume you've had some in use, and you're not just pre-selling it, but you've actually got prototypes in use. And what have you heard from people?
Yeah, well, I mean, so we've been through a lot of different versions, to get the different materials right. We've had to 3D print it, so that does give us some limitations based on some parts of the end product will be a fair bit better than the prototypes we made, but I think the feedback has been really good. It's because of the small nubs, because actually it's a lot of, and I don't want to try to oversell our swab, because I think we're still at a stage where when we fulfill the Kickstarter, that's when we're going to get a lot of really valuable customer feedback. Mm-hmm. And based on that, we might need to make some changes. But a lot of the feedback has been that the experience for ear cleaning in particular has been a lot more sort of pleasant, because it's actually more gentle the way that it's made, because it's softer. Obviously cotton has a softness to it, but it's packed hard and the cotton. Apparently, this is also an issue. The cotton gets stuck in people's ears. This is not something that I ever considered, but that was also sort of an issue people have with cotton swabs, and that doesn't happen with ours. So that's pretty positive. And the makeup has been very positive as well. And people have very different feedback. People have such different views of what they use it for and what's good for them and everything. But what we've tried to ask people is really try to compare it to the alternative. That's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to alleviate that. So we just need them to be okay, it's better than that, or it's good enough, or in that range. And sort of on that scale, it's been very positive.
Cool. So let's go back a little bit. Before you went live on Kickstarter, can you tell me what you guys focused on in terms of marketing?
Yes. So, I mean, first we had to choose Kickstarter, right? So we've always been really fascinated by Kickstarter. We've done a couple of Kickstarters, not particularly successful, but I've always liked the idea of doing a Kickstarter, a successful one. And a Kickstarter is kind of its own animal in a lot of ways. It's not. It's this
I'm going to stop you there. So tell me about one of the failures on Kickstarter.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so the first one we did was a hanging fruit basket. We did this in 2014. This wasn't a failure. This was just sort of a MediaCore campaign. I think we sold probably for around $25,000. Mm-hmm. And we recently out, and this was okay. The product is not something that we went very far with afterwards. Since then, we did a jewelry concept, which was called Noise Jewelry, and the idea was that people would be able to go on a website, speak, make a speak, record a sound, something they said, music or anything, and that would be translated into a sound wave on a pendant, and they would be able to replay that sound with an app that would scan the pendant and then replay the sound. And for a bunch of different reasons, that was not a success. And I think jewelry is really bad online. It's even worse in crowdfunding. If you look at statistics, the concept was too complicated. Like even just having to spend that much time explaining what it was is a problem. Like, last swab, reusable cotton swab. It kind of that's kind of how easy it has to be.
Yep.
And it wasn't properly worked through. We didn't prepare before the launch. I think that's like the biggest thing I think I've learned from this. Like there are a lot of small tweaks you can do on the Kickstarter, but I think preparation is the most important thing, and the best type of preparation you can do is email collection, because you get so many different things out of it. Not only do you get these pre-customers, but you start getting feedback. Like you validate your product while you're building your pre-launch. It's a total win-win. It's like a mix of paying a marketing company up front and then doing a survey monkey. Like it's all in one. So we didn't prepare very well for the noise campaign, for that and a bunch of other reasons, it wasn't very successful.
So that's a great lead-in. So when you say the pre-launch, you're even talking, to be specific for people, you're talking about the way that you collected the 40,000 email leads before you did the Kickstarter. And I know we met because you used Kickoff Labs for that. And so how did Kickoff Labs help you guys?
Well, so I guess we knew we wanted to collect these emails, and it costs, a lot to get a person in and leave their email. It's basically just, conversion cost on whatever ad you're doing, and then them leaving their email. And I guess what Kickoff Labs really gave us was not only a really good platform to be able to set up the whole campaign, but also to do this incentive system where that, if they shared it with their friends and then they got this automatic link, and if their friends went in and placed their email and verified their email, then they would get free swaps. This is really good for us, especially for our product, because the issue with Kickstarter is we can't really give rebates. Like we can't give 10% off if you sell X. We have to give a product when we do something like this. So it worked really well for us because we could basically say, if you have 3 friends signing up, we can give you a free swap, because the cost of the swap is fairly low compared to, a lot of other products. And, those emails would be worth the cost of that swap for us. So that was a really good thing. And I think the thing that excited me the most, that I really got into, especially in the last 2 weeks of our pre-launch, was the A/B testing. Because I think we ended up doing probably 20,000. We started with a much more conservative budget. I think we started with, we wanted to use $4,000 to collect emails. And it turned out that we were getting a pretty good conversion rate. We were paying about $0.50 per email, which is really low. And so we really wanted to bank on this. And then we upped it to 20,000. And obviously, we were just paying a company to do this. And we'd given them ads and things like that, but then you basically just sit there and watch, like, is this good, isn't this good? But what we could actually do is A/B test our landing page. And I think in those 2 weeks, we went from a conversion rate from 18% all the way up to 23%. So just from us sitting there and changing the graphics and testing models versus product versus environment, changing different text. I mean, we basically iterated every 12 or 24 hours in 2 weeks and did a new one and then tested against the best one. And we got, 5% extra out of our marketing budget, which is, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. Yeah.
I can see that going through your campaign. You kind of had, you start out with a good campaign with an okay conversion rate, and you can just see there's a 2-week period where your conversion rate really jumps, and so that must have been when you were doing the A/B testing. So when you're doing the A/B testing, one of the things that I tell people as advice is these campaigns are a chance to test your message. What did you learn about your message for Last Schwab through the A/B testing?
But so here's what's actually really great. Not only do you convert better, but you also get an idea of what your Kickstarter is supposed to look like. Because it's kind of the same format. Like you come in and what's the first thing you want them to see? What's the second thing you want them to see? It's really this, you just scroll down. That's the kind of that's the page you want to make where you collect the emails, and your Kickstarter's do the same thing. So what we learned was we started with a lot of model photos because we were afraid that people weren't going to get what this was. And for that reason, I think we always wanted to put it into the hand of a model. You want to create context. At least you hear that in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. But what actually converted really well was the environmental message. Yep. So we sort of saw that when we went more into, showing, the sea animals and showing the product, a really good render of the product, that was the best message. We ended up having a really good render that showed a closed box and a half-open box with the swab, and then a swab out of the box. So you kind of got the idea that it was in a case. Yep. And then we had a squid sort of clamoring, and we did a lot of different environmentally. We had a surfer, and we had a beach and everything. The one that converted the best was the squid holding on to the single-use cotton swab in the ocean. Because that kind of, it explains everything. Like you get what the product is, you get what the problem is, and why this product has to exist. And I think we use that so much in our Kickstarter and all the advertising that we've done since. So yeah, that's what we learned.
Yeah, I'm looking at the page, and I'll post pictures with this as well, so people can see it. The page that seemed to have one of the best conversion rates is exactly as you described it. It's got a great product shot, and then the environmental message where you've got a really clear, what I love about the copy on this page is it says problem and then solution, like pointing at the other thing. And then the text says, I think you tackle people's objections right away, because you can see what the product is, but then the text, you think like, oh, why would I reuse it? And the first thing you say is an easy to clean sanitary. It's like you're starting with easy to clean, sanitary, reusable alternative to the cotton swab. And then you're giving people a reason to sign up, saying they'll get early access to the Kickstarter and you'll get 45% off. And then the page goes into the very clear, some more descriptions mixed with the environmental message, which I like.
Right.
But it's fascinating because this is your perfect case study. What do you tell people is the best practices that you hear about don't always work for every particular market and product, because you started with what I think a lot of people would say is a best practice, which is we're going to start with the model and put the product in context, focus, and then you learned through your experimentation that maybe that wasn't the best thing for your market and your target customers right now.
Yeah. And we really got this feedback double because we were doing it on the pre-launch page, and we could do the A/B testing, and then we did a lot of different boosted. The way we collected the emails was basically with boosted Facebook posts. Mm-hmm. So there was this whole sort of discussion, and based on a lot of the things that people were saying, we would also use that to tweak the KickoffLabs page. And what's actually really, because I had to qualify, because I could see us going from 18 conversion rate to 19 and so on to 23. And when we were at 23, I was like, I need to double check this. So I took the first page we did and I ran them against each other. Like the first one we did and the last one we ended up with. And that basically confirmed it. It was a little bit higher. I think we'd gotten better leads and better at the ads, but we were still at a very big difference between the first one we did and the last one.
Yeah. No, that's a great sanity check that I haven't heard many people do, but it's a great way to to get a check and say this is actually working. This focus we did make a difference. So it's a great reinforcement. So that was one of the main last questions I had. So to drive traffic to your pre-launch campaign and then the Kickstarter, was it primarily through the usage of boosted posts in Facebook?
Yeah, I mean we'd actually had the KickoffLabs pre-launch page for a while, and we've done, we tried to do some outreach and talk to some influencers and have them sort of share it and things like that. And a little bit did happen, but it was uncomparable to just going out and doing the advertising, because, and this will probably not be the case for, a lot of products, but we have a product that needs to be a really good converter. That has to be the thing for this product. And we got that tested during this. So I think when we do this on the next product, we're gonna when last swap is all set up and done and everything, we're gonna want to do last bag or last floss or whatever, and we're gonna go directly to doing this. We're not going to use an agency for it because we need to become good friends with Facebook Manager, and we have good pixels and audience groups and stuff. We can use all that because the audience will be the same. Mm-hmm. For someone starting up, you probably need some sort of support because you won't have enough data to just start doing the audience groups. It'll be too expensive to do the ads. But at some point you'll have it, you can do yourself. But I would go directly to this. I wouldn't go the media way because the media doesn't really want to talk about you unless you're a success. Yeah. I wouldn't do influencers or things like that because it's so much work, and it's like a game all in and of itself that you really need to understand. And I think the really good way to get validation is just to get consistent traffic, and the way you get that is by paying for it. We used Funded Today. Now, I have, some issues with Funded Today, and I'm not going to get into that, but they did a really good job.
Funded Today?
Funded Today is a crowdfunding marketing company. It's actually the biggest crowdfunding marketing company. They do, Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns, and they're basically a one-stop shop for that. And they're very sort of closed in the way they do business. Like you pay them money and you almost don't know what they're doing. Like the only thing you get is like, is this good or is this bad? It's very binary working with them. And that'll be based on the numbers that come out, and you kind of really have to trust them, which I don't, which is one of the issues. But the email collection, they did really well, and that's because they had the data, so they were able to do that. Doing the posts and using our graphics, but even just doing it yourself, just for a couple of $100, like I think that would be worth it. Like just do your best graphic, put it up on a post, and boost that post. Do it intelligently. Like figure out what your audience is, see if you can get like access to a Kickstarter audience or something that matches you, and then just see what happens. Like see if you can get 100 leads doing that, and if you can, like if you feel like that conversion rate is worth it, like we did. Like $50 per lead, which is incredible. But even if you have to pay like a couple of dollars in the beginning for a lead, I think it's worth it to get to know your audience. And people will start to like comment. And then you can base, the next ad on, which people bought. I can use these people to do a lookalike group and sort of work your way slowly through that. That's definitely what we're going to do next.
That's some more great advice. I love hearing that from people. So I'm gonna say we're gonna move into the last part. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I want to go through 5 questions. Fast 5 questions. So, how do you personally get in the work zone? Are you just feeling like you're doing amazing work?
The zone. The zone is for me, it's really when the work just sort of materializes, I guess. So I work a lot when there's a lot of work to be done. It's actually hard for me to get in the zone if there's not, people tugging at me, which only happens when you launch something and you do it at a fairly, I don't want to say massive scale, but when you have a fair amount of traffic, that usually gets me in the zone because then I have to solve like everything. Defining, like, I think the reason why we succeeded design-wise on this, like the reason why we got into that element was just because we kept limiting what we wanted to do and what we were prepared to do, like from a design perspective. Like, we want to do something that's good for the environment. We only want to do something that's single use. We only want to, that eliminates single use. We only want to do it in this area. It has to be small. It can't be consumable. And we kept on limiting ourselves in things. And that barrier, that that you can't go 1,000 different ways with what you're doing, that brings me into the zone.
Perfect. Favorite vacation destination?
Maldives.
What do you love about it?
It's an island, and it's isolated, and the weather is always good. That place was just heaven for me.
Perfect. Someone you look up to, personal or business wise?
Dieter Rams, Brown designer. Jonathan Ive, the chief designer at Apple, is actually very inspired by him. Dieter Rams is a German designer. His approach to design is something I think we're lacking a lot in our society, where people go in sort of all these odd directions, where he's so user focused, minimalistic, not in a sort of this has to be, a square white box minimalistic, but in a how does this tell the usability to the user in the best possible way.
And he was if I'm not mistaken, he was one of the first designers too that really is part of his message of communicating good design, was that it also had to be something that had some good or was good for the environment in some way, right? Or am I missing?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. No, yeah, I think you're completely right. It's actually interesting because I think he was an environmentalist before that was really a thing. I think that was just implicit for him. It wasn't really a choice or something that he really talked about. I don't think you'll find a lot of quotes where he talks about that specifically, but I think for him that was just a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. Favorite podcast or TV show?
Probably Freakonomics. I'm torn between Tim Ferriss and Freakonomics. I love Tim Ferriss. Freakonomics is a little bit more focused on, I like sort of the eccentricities of different economical aspects, the things that you don't think about and how that impacts us or how things actually work.
Perfect. And the most challenging part of your journey so far?
I think the thing that keeps me up at night is when I lose control over a certain aspect of what we're doing. The partnerships that we have where I feel like the communication isn't aligned, or, I have to wait, I have to trust someone. I don't see myself as a control freak in that sense. It's more a question of, I like being able to, I need to trust the process. And when I don't, I get frustrated. I think the biggest challenge for us with this, because, the sales part of it has actually gone surprisingly well. The emails. I actually want to mention one last thing about the emails. The conversion rate on those were crazy. I had no idea we were going to hit a conversion rate that was that high. When you collect emails, you get a conversion rate probably from, an ROI of like 10% all the way up to 500%. I think we almost hit like the 500% mark, which is just incredible. That's the best conversion we've seen of all the advertising we've done. So that was the challenging part. Production is going to be the thing that we're going to have to spend the most time on, because we really have to get it right. Mm-hmm. The quality of the product.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing how that goes for you guys. And so for anybody that's interested, you can check them out. They own lastschwab.com, LASTSWAB.com, lastschwab.com. They're available at the time of this recording on Kickstarter, and you can pre-order yours there. And then anything I missed, or closing advice you might have for people listening?
Wow, I don't know. Prepare a lot, validate your product, and be prepared to fail a couple of times. I did.
Great advice. Thanks for coming on. I loved seeing following your journey. So I hadn't paid as much attention until I saw your KickoffLabs campaign, and I said, "What are they up to now?" And then I saw the Kickstarter campaign, and I was like, "Wow, that's a great success story. I want to talk to this guy." Selfishly, part of the reason I do this is because I think I believe everybody could learn from someone else, and I've really enjoyed learning from you for the last half hour or so. Thanks for coming on, and look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this episode, let us know by hitting the review button in your favorite podcast app. Frankly, my goal is just one person that's not my parents got this far and let me know by emailing josh@kickofflabs.com. Thanks and have a great day.